Tonight, political turmoil in Pakistan as President Musharraf declares a state of emergency, heightening the crisis in a key U.S. ally in the war on terror.
Anything that takes Pakistan off the democratic path, off the path of civilian rule, is a step backward, and it's highly regrettable.
The growing backlash against the plan for a national ID card, and a ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery honors American women in uniform.
It means a lot for my children to be able to see what I did.
This is the CBS Evening News.
We begin tonight with the fast-moving events in Pakistan, the U.S. ally that borders Afghanistan and is on the front line in the battle against al-Qaeda. Here's the latest. General Pervez Musharraf today declared a state of national emergency. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has been replaced, and opposition leader Benazir Bhutto has returned to Pakistan. Her home is now reportedly surrounded by troops. Mark Phillips has more.
The clampdown took familiar forms. Troops took up positions around government buildings. A troublesome Supreme Court justice was dismissed, and Pakistan's beleaguered president went on TV to try to justify his actions.
Inaction at this moment is suicide for Pakistan, and I cannot allow this country to commit suicide.
Pervez Musharraf, president of the country and head of the army, was significantly in civilian clothes for this address. He said he was taking emergency measures to preserve his country's progress toward democracy. But he's threatened on at least 3 fronts. Islamist militants have become increasingly active. Al-Qaeda is known to be operating. And a wave of suicide bombings has swept the streets. The country's Supreme Court has been refusing to rule on whether General Musharraf can run for president in elections planned for next year. And the political opposition to him is strengthening with the return of the popular Benazir Bhutto. The immediate fate of the opposition is one of the unknowns. Another party leader says he's been put under house arrest.
The only reason he's passed the emergency is because he was scared that the Supreme Court would not allow a military general to fight the election of the president.
I request you all to bear with us.
Speaking in English, Musharraf said he wanted to explain his actions to the United States and the West.
Please also do not demand and expect your level of civil rights, human rights, civil liberties, which you learned over the centuries. We are trying to learn, and we are doing very well also.
Musharraf even quoted from Abraham Lincoln, citing a letter Lincoln had written suspending some constitutional provisions during the Civil War. What Musharraf did not do, however, was say whether the elections scheduled for Pakistan for next year will actually happen. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
For more on the situation in Pakistan, we turn now to CBS News reporter Farhan Bokhari, who's in Islamabad tonight. Good evening, Farhan. Can you tell us what it's like on the streets out there right now?
Good evening, Maggie. A lot of people here are left with a great sense of disbelief. Of course, this is just the initial few hours after the imposition of a state of emergency. And while Pakistanis have been used to military generals in the past abruptly putting restrictions on democracy in this country, this is the first time that something of this order has happened since the 21st century began.
Why did President Musharraf impose the state of emergency?
He ended his first speech a few minutes ago since the imposition of the state of emergency, and his reason for doing this was that there's a growing threat of terrorist violence backed by Islamic militants across this country. He also said that the country's Supreme Court, judges from the Supreme Court, had acted somewhat irresponsibly. But lots of his critics are saying tonight that this was essentially a step by General Musharraf to fundamentally save his own position, his own job.
Meanwhile, Benazir Bhutto, who heads the opposition to President Musharraf, is in Pakistan. Do you think that adds to the volatility of the situation?
Well, Benazir Bhutto is probably Pakistan's best-known politician to the outside world. In that sense, I think what Benazir has to say about the future, the present and the future of Pakistan is going to be very important and may play a somewhat decisive role in ultimately setting the pace for where this country is going to go next.
Farhan Bokhari in Islamabad. Thank you. The White House was quick to voice its opposition to Musharraf's move and to urge a speedy return to democratic rule. The day's events vastly complicate U.S. relations with an important ally, as Joey Chen reports now from Washington.
It wasn't that the Pakistani leader didn't get the message. He just decided not to listen. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice was among top U.S. officials who repeatedly warned General Musharraf not to impose the state of emergency.
Anything that takes Pakistan off the democratic path, off the path of civilian rule, is a step backward, and it's highly regrettable.
Badly stung by Musharraf's direct defiance, the White House insists there's still a way out of the crisis, releasing a statement saying President Musharraf needs to stand by his pledges to have free and fair elections. Musharraf is thumbing his nose at the $11 billion the U.S. government has spent to help prop up the Pakistani leader. The Bush administration is counting on Musharraf as a key partner in the war on terror, despite suspicions he's been lax in the fight against al-Qaeda and slow to promote democracy in Pakistan. The White House has held back from interfering in the country's affairs so as not to undermine him. But at home, Democrats on the campaign trail have slammed the administration for turning a deaf ear to trouble brewing.
What is the greatest threat to the United States of America? 2.6 kilograms of highly enriched uranium in Tehran or an out-of-control Pakistan? It's not close.
Pakistan does pose a more serious issue for this country and one that needs to be addressed.
Analysts say the administration's anti-terror strategy has always counted on getting help, both from a stable Pakistan and a willing Musharraf. Now both may be in jeopardy, and Maggie, there just doesn't seem to be a plan B.
Joey Chen in Washington, thank you. The remnants of Hurricane Noel have turned into a dangerous nor'easter. The storm moved steadily up the U.S. East Coast today. Coastal New England is expected to bear the full brunt this weekend. Cape Cod is getting the worst of it, as we hear from Mish Michaels of CBS station WBZ.
A cold, wind-driven rain has been hammering us all day long here on the elbow of Cape Cod. In fact, the winds have been increasing hour after hour. Last check, we've had some gusts here between 50 and 60 miles an hour. And as the storm gets closer to us tonight, some of those gusts could reach hurricane force. We've seen sheets of rain, and before the storm is done, as much as 6 inches of rain will have fallen. So we have concerns over street flooding. And tonight, all eyes are on the Atlantic Ocean. We have high tide coming up within 1 hour, and the wave action and the elevated seas could lead to coastal flooding on parts of Cape Cod. Mish Michaels, CBS News, Chatham, Massachusetts.
A spacewalking astronaut today carried out a risky repair mission on the space station. Perched on a boom 50 yards away from the living quarters, and despite the danger of electric shock, the astronaut fixed a solar energy panel that had torn earlier this week. Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a day to remember American women in the military. But first, real doubts about a new identity card for all Americans. The United Auto Workers reached a tentative contract agreement today with ailing Ford Motor Company, last of the big 3 automakers to settle. Like the others, the Ford deal sets up a union-run health care fund for retirees. New York State's proposal to issue driver's licenses to illegal immigrants has been stirring up controversy all week. But a parallel program from the federal government called Real ID is also facing growing opposition. Michelle Miller has more.
The revolt against Real ID began in Maine, where legislators rejected any notion of joining a national ID card registry.
It's not going to do anything to secure our borders. It's not going to prevent acts of terror, and it will certainly compromise people's personal privacy.
20 other states have voted to block the post-9/11 initiative from the Department of Homeland Security. Real ID is an enhanced driver's license, but it requires much more documentation. You'll have to provide a birth certificate, proof of citizenship and residency, and your social security number. States would send all that information to one national database. Without Real ID or a passport come mid-2013, Americans won't be able to enter federal buildings, cross the border, or board a plane.
There's certainly nothing that you could do with a Real ID that you couldn't do with a passport.
But only 1 in 4 Americans has a passport, and getting one costs much more than renewing your driver's license. Real ID, on the other hand, isn't cheap. The estimated cost to states, $11 billion over the next 5 years.
If the federal government wants to levy additional security requirements on states regarding the driver's license, at a minimum, it should defray most of the cost of doing that.
This week, New York Governor Eliot Spitzer amended his proposal to offer driver's licenses to illegal immigrants and agreed to Real ID. It's now the 5th state to back that idea, or enhanced licenses. A DHS spokeswoman told CBS News the public wants to minimize their exposure to identity theft. The way to do it is through more secure identification.
It's a bureaucratic nightmare.
But critics like the ACLU's Christopher Calabrese say Real ID will do just the opposite.
By putting all the information in one place, you make that information more available. You make it available to identity thieves, to crooked insiders at the DMV, to hackers.
Databases aren't foolproof. Just ask the Department of Transportation. It reported this week finding 600,000 phony Social Security numbers in a list of 40 million drivers. Add to that, sensitive information was not encrypted when transmitted to states. Those are problems Homeland Security will have to solve before more states get on board with Real ID. Michelle Miller, CBS News, New York.
Just ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, inside the investigation of another controversial Blackwater shooting in Iraq. A deadly freeway pileup today in California. The Highway Patrol says at least 2 people were killed in the accident involving up to 100 cars and trucks near Fresno. Visibility on the freeway was obscured by thick fog. A female U.S. soldier has been killed by a roadside bomb south of Baghdad, the 90th female service member to die in Iraq. Meanwhile, CBS News has learned details of another investigation of the Blackwater security contractor, already implicated in the shooting deaths of 17 civilians. Alan Pizzi has more.
Their photos are posted like those of martyrs. 3 guards at the government-owned Iraqi TV station shot, say eyewitnesses, by guards from the security firm Blackwater on February 7th this year. The father of one of the victims says no one has approached his family to offer apologies or compensation, and he wants Blackwater held to account. There should be a law to punish this company that kills people so randomly, Abdullah Ali Adai says. My son was just doing his job. On the day of the shooting, the 3 Iraqi guards were using this bombed-out building as a vantage point. From here, they could see the whole square. On the other side is the Iraqi Ministry of Justice, where a Blackwater convoy pulled in that day with a U.S. Embassy official. 4 Blackwater guards were posted on the roof of the ministry building. Sometime after the convoy arrived, an angry shouting match broke out at this checkpoint near the Iraqi guard post. An Iraqi guard fired a warning shot to try to break it up. According to a police report, that's when Blackwater opened fire from the rooftop across the square. This man, who did not want to give his name, was eating in the restaurant nearby when he heard the shots. When the first guard was shot, another went to help him, and then he was shot, he says. And after about half an hour, a third guard tried to rescue the others, and he was shot also.
The U.S. Embassy declined to comment, other than saying that a joint U.S.-Iraqi commission is reviewing a range of issues relating to the actions of State Department private security details. Given the public anger over private guards, Blackwater in particular, that review will have to supply a lot of clear answers, and soon. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Baghdad.
Coming up on tonight's CBS Evening News, America honors its women in uniform. As today's news of a female soldier's death in Iraq reminds us, American women have also been doing their duty on the front lines of war. And today, their sacrifice was honored at sacred ground, Arlington National Cemetery. The role of women in today's U.S. military is tonight's Weekend Journal.
They are 15% of the armed forces in every branch of the service, 201,000 strong. At their gathering in Washington, D.C. this weekend, military women of all ages and from different wars came together to remember, reconnect, and remind people of their service to the country.
We just don't know anything about the history of women in the military. And we just felt it was time to tell their stories.
Brigadier General Wilma Vaught is a celebrity among military women, not least because of her crucial role in the building of the Women's War Memorial, dedicated 10 years ago. The memorial at the entrance to Arlington Cemetery details the contributions of servicewomen in U.S. wars and provides a way for family members to find a connection to the past.
It's a fantastic thing for families. I don't know how many times I have been there, and some family member comes in, pulls up a mother or a grandmother, a sister, and tears come to their eyes.
Hey, there's somebody here you might recognize.
Norma Groff's 2 children brought her to the memorial yesterday to see herself as part of history.
It brings back a lot of memories, and it means a lot for my children to be able to see what I did.
Military women now are doing a lot more than in her day, she says. And if she could, she'd re-enlist.
I wish that I were young again, that they just do everything. They fly, they fight, you know. I say go for it.
Sona Babani is a young Marine who assumes she will be deployed to Iraq one day soon, and she has a surprising connection there. Born in Iraq, her parents were Christian missionaries in the 1990s and seen as a threat to Saddam's regime. So the U.S. got her family out. The first stop en route to America was Guam, and that was the turning point.
When I landed in Guam, and I was 10 years old, I got off this little plane, stepped off the steps, and all I saw in front of me were servicemen and women, you know, on the right and left of me. I was like, wow, you know, I want to be that. When I grow up, that's what I want to do, and to give back to what America's given me.
She is very conscious of the service of women who came before her, who were represented at the 10th anniversary ceremony this afternoon.
If it weren't for those women, I wouldn't be here today. It'd still be women cannot fight, women cannot be in the front lines, women cannot carry weapons, you know, you're stuck behind a tent.
Sona Babani introduced Secretary Gates today, taking her place on stage and in the long history of women in uniform, and perhaps inspiring the generation to come.
You are the reason we are here standing today in uniform.
Today's 10th anniversary ceremonies concluded at dusk with a candlelight march beginning at the Lincoln Memorial. We'll be back. And finally, don't forget to turn your clocks back an hour before you go to bed tonight. Daylight saving time ends at 2 a.m. Sunday. That's the CBS Evening News. I'm Maggie Rodriguez in New York. Good night.
CBS News. Experience you can trust.